Hello everyone, this is the LEGO Architecture Paris Skyline set. It came out in early 2019 in Europe and Asia. I believe it was mid 2019 for North America. I'm going to take you on a little tour through the individual small builds here with the disclaimer that I don't speak French, so my pronunciation will be poor. My apologies for that. So here we go. First up on the far left, the Arc de Triomphe. I'm going to put a minifigure next to that just for the sake of scale so you can see basically what we're dealing with here. Rendered in a white color, which gives it some contrast against some of the tan colored buildings. You know, it's not a pure white structure, but it's off-white, you know, in real life, so this looks pretty appropriate. Just uses basic arches for the main shaping there. A little bit of extra width to the ledge around the top. Try to bring in a little bit of texture beneath that as well. And a single stud down in the center to represent the eternal flame of the tomb of the unknown soldier. It is, you know, symbolic. Of course, it's rendered significantly larger than the real thing, but it's nice that they included it there. And also the base is nice with the rounded corners that were made possible by the relatively recent inclusion in the LEGO inventory of the quarter round 1x1 tiles. Next to that, the Champs-Élysées, or rather a little bit of that strip with some of the individually manicured trees represented out front. That looks pretty good. It's just so short. It's just such a small bit of what architecturally and visually, from a landmark perspective, is, you know, a long boulevard. So there's a representation here. It's nice that the printed 1x1 individual plates were used, the white ones, to bring in some of the suggestions of windows, but it's just a very small representation. This next thing, on the other hand, is beautiful in my opinion and a wonderful representation of what it is. It's the Grand Palais. I know I absolutely butchered that. Again, my apologies. But I love how this is built with a lot of studs on the side construction for the core of it. And it's actually fairly hollow behind there. I just want to pull a couple things off. Maybe just that will do to show you how hollow it is inside, with the skylights that are rendered with 2x2 bricks, you know, round bricks. And they just cover up the sides of them to show you just the half dome tops, or the half circular, half cylinder tops of them. And there's nice detailing around the side as well. Just a lot of depth, you know, partial stud movement, partial plate movement, forward and back, up and down, just in every direction. There's a lot of texture and a lot of shape that I think is absolutely wonderful for its size and scale. On the topic of size and scale, here's the Toul Montparnasse. So terrible, so terrible. That's the worst one for me. I just don't have the tonsil musculature to be agile enough to get those R's in there. But considered by many to be one of the most ugly, or at least most out of place buildings in the entire country of France, I don't disagree with that sentiment. It just sticks up quite a bit. But I think that this LEGO representation of the building is a little bit nicer than the real one because it's made to look even more modern and more sleek. The use of the 1x4 by 2/3 curved pieces makes it all nice and shiny and everything, whereas the real thing actually has quite a bit of texture. You know, it's not that new of a building. You do see a little bit of color just up at the top, just beneath this 1x2 tile here. They've got some medium blue inside. They've got some tan inside. Those are for the studs on the side bricks that allow this all to come together. And as we look at this around the side, you see it's not perfectly symmetrical front to back, which is good. This is nice. I like how the side is done. But then the back itself is just, you know, built the same way as the front. It's really just the sides that are different, but it's done pretty nicely. Yeah, I really think it looks better than the real thing, personally. Now, of course, we have to get to the Eiffel Tower. And this, I think, is done extremely well. Just a little bit of the parkway is suggested there in the front. Look at the technique that was used for the lower arches down here. They used these windscreen pieces that are printed. It's a unique print for this. Actually brings in a slightly different curve than the pieces themselves, allowing part of the molded plastic in clear to just kind of disappear for you, and I think it fills up the space very nicely. Personally, I just thought it was clever. It's nice that they were able to bring in that additional print just for this. I think it just looks good. The whole thing looks very similar to the last standalone Eiffel Tower set that they did in the architecture series. It's just smaller, and I don't know, it almost feels like it has a little bit more texture. And it went together nicely. It was a joy to put together because you use a bunch of different types of techniques, and they top it off with the French flag. I don't think that actually belongs there. Maybe on some celebrations they put one up there or something, but it's nicely placed. I think it's a nice touch. You can always leave it off if you don't like it, but this is fully symmetrical around all angles. I will show you more of the back of this entire model shortly, but I want to focus on just the main views and the main structures of what you get here. Also, this is placed at a 45-degree angle relative to the base, and it is completely secure. No illegal building techniques used there. Nothing is forced. Nothing is loose. It's very secure to its base. And finally, the Louvre. I was always taught as a youngster to just ignore the consonants and just call it Louvre. But it's another one of those things that's a tonsil twister for us basic Americans. But this is another nice build. Of course, the pyramid in the center is absolutely perfect for this scale with the help of the pyramid piece. That's a 1x1 and just a plain clear. And there's some nice texture on the side wings, nice texture on the center of the building. Overall shaping is good. Doesn't look so great to me from the sides. It's missing some texture towards the rear. So as I look around here, I don't like it so much. And as I look around here, it's not quite so bad. Just, well, maybe a little bit. It does look a bit like the side of a building going down an alley over there towards the back. But I think a little bit more texture towards the back would have made this absolutely perfect. As it is, the main courtyard area is perfect, and most of the front is good. I think the shaping of the roof segments is also pretty fantastic. Now, getting around to the back of this entire collection of miniature models, you see things become very plain. So that plain segment of the side of the building there just extends and kind of paints the entire rear view of this. In contrast to the Eiffel Tower, which does still have its full detail all the way around. So it's very nice to look at from any angle. And even the back of the Grand Palais looks pretty nice. And here we go again. My apologies. Tour Montparnasse. Tour Montparnasse. Terrible. Anyway, it has the same level of detail as around the front, which is not a lot. It's not as much as you would see on the real thing, but it's rendered pretty well. The back of these smaller buildings, not so great to look at. Overall, this is kind of interesting to look at from multiple angles. I'd say it's better than most of these Skyline sets tend to be from around the back, but it's definitely not ideal. It is kind of nice, though, that there is all of this depth. Though, again, on the negative side of that, if you were to put a bunch of Skyline sets together, these ones that have a lot of extension towards the rear really stand out. They cannot be placed on as shallow of a shelf as a lot of the ones that are really just this deep or that have just a little bit of extension to the rear. Just something to consider. Not necessarily a bad thing. I'm very glad that they do have a full three-dimensional Eiffel Tower model there. And again, it's done well. Here's a quick look at the spare or leftover parts, including the beautiful 1x1 clear pyramid piece right there, and the newer form of Lego's clear plastic, and one of the printed 1x1 white plate. Looking at value, this is a $50 US set for just shy of 650 pieces officially. That gives it a very nice price to part ratio, which it very much needs given how many of the pieces are 1x1 plates and tiles. The amount of stuff that you get here for $50 US doesn't feel worth it, especially relative to other Lego themes, even considering the fact that Lego is always expensive. Lego architecture is even more expensive still. And Lego itself has all but admitted outright that the The reason behind that is that, well, they can. They can price architecture sets higher than others for the amount of stuff that you get because the average buyer is older and more likely to be willing to pay more. So they charge more. It's kind of how the world tends to work: supply and demand, availability of funds and interest in products, and trying to match that and get as much back as possible. Relative to other Lego architecture skyline sets, I would say, though, in my opinion, this has better value than most because of the depth as well as the height and the level of detail. How well most of these things that are built here are done. I think the Arc de Triomphe is my least favorite thing out of all that they've done here. It almost feels like an Asian temple with the design, with just how wide the ledges are there. I wish they could have brought that in a little bit closer. It just feels a little bit overdone. Gives it a little bit too much of a T shape. You recognize what it is, but I don't know. I wish they could have gone another quarter stud narrower or something. But overall, I'm pretty happy with this. Relative to other sets in the same line, it's a pretty good value, and I think that it'll make a lot of people happy. Probably already has made a lot of people happy, given that it is not a brand new release. Let me know what you think about it, though. If you want to see how it all went together, including the interior details of the medium-sized buildings, and also how the Eiffel Tower was assembled, at least, you can check out my real-time or speed builds on the respective channels. I will link to both of those in the end screen right now, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching.